A lot of people enjoy my Why You Should Never Hire a Mangina series, and a lot of people are learning from that Why You Should Never Hire a Mangina series. The good news is I plan on continuing the Why You Should Never Hire a Mangina series soon. I'm just looking to get a few more pieces of information and research together before I continue the series, and I might even possibly even do an ebook on the subject. But for the meantime, I'm going to talk about another part of simps and manginas and why you should never marry or date these kind of guys. When it comes down to relationships, your simp and your mangina are two of the worst people to ever be involved with romantically. And that's because these guys really don't want a relationship with a woman because they like her for who she is. They want to have a relationship with a woman because of what they can get out of her. Now, you oftentimes hear these simps and these mangina nice guys oftentimes saying to everyone that this woman used them, this woman took advantage of them, this woman played them. But for the most part, they don't want to talk about their part in the covert contract. When it comes down to relationships between simps and manginas and women, usually the simp is using her just as much as she was using him. But what the simp is using the woman for is social currency. And what is social currency? Social currency are those cool points a guy gets when he is seen with something that people find attractive or desirable. And what most simps and manginas want from women is social currency with other people. And that's why they get involved with people, and that's why they chase people, because the people are not people to them, the people are objects to them. And they are like that iPhone he has in his hand that Escalade with the 25-inch rims and the pump and stereo system. They are ways to get attention from people. They are attachments that this simp or this mangina uses to get attention from other people who are in social circles he believes are cool. They are ways for him to get attention and approval from these people. They are ways for him to move up a social ladder. They are ways to impress people. And the reason why he wants that attractive woman, again, is because he wants to get those cool points with other people. When a woman stops being cool or stops being attractive to him, that's when he decides the relationship isn't going to work. But because your simp and your mangina are horrible enders and do not end relationships by just saying it's not going to work out, I'm just not into you anymore, and break up with her, because again, these guys really do not know how to navigate through their emotions, and they do not know how to end things because they are horrible problem solvers. They will maintain the relationship with the female that they work so hard to get involved with, and then pursue relationships under the table. And what these guys will do is they'll have their girlfriend, and then they'll be out here chasing other women. And a lot of times, this is where your simp and your mangina really start to show their true character to the woman that they first got involved with, the first woman that they objectified. This is where he starts to call her the B word, the H word, and he starts to speak negatively of her. She's no longer the attractive hottie to him anymore. She's a B and an H. But he'll then go to the other woman and tell her how beautiful she is. And he'll do this because, again, he is living to get social currency out of these females. He's using them to get social currency so he can climb a social ladder. But a lot of people won't see this regarding this guy. And this went on, quite a bit, during the 1970s and the 1980s during the feminist movement. We saw a lot of beta males doing this. And the sad part is, a lot of these guys went out here and they had children by these other women, and then they would go out and chase other women, and they would make it look like the woman was the big villain in the part, and that she wasn't taking care of him, she wasn't meeting his needs, and in some ways it pretty much was true, because it wasn't meeting his needs for social currency. She wasn't attractive to others in this social circle he wanted to get into. She wasn't attractive in a way that won him favor and attention from others, and she wasn't, appealing enough to get him cool points with other people. The whole thing with your simp and your mangina, for the most part, is that they are going to cheat on you. If you get involved with this type of guy, he is going to cheat on you. And he'll sit there, he'll make all these promises about being this nice guy, this knight in shining armor, this man who will live to protect and to care for you. But that's just a smokescreen. When you start losing value, when you stop being the object of his affection, when you stop being the woman he puts on a pedestal, when you start losing value and cool points in social circles as a woman, the simp and the mangina is pretty much gonna cheat on you. He's gonna blame blame the woman for why he had to cheat. He will say that you're not meeting his needs, and there is some truth to that statement where he says you're not meeting his needs, because as a woman you aren't meeting his needs. His need is for social currency. His need is for cool points. He lives for the value and approval of others. He does not value people for themselves. Both of these guys, for the most part, live for the approval of popular people, the attention of popular people, and they want to be the cool person, but they don't understand that what makes a person cool or what makes a person popular is relative, and it's relative to what's inside of them and their feelings of worth about themselves. A person who other people consider cool is a person who has the confidence to be themselves, the confidence to go for what they want, the confidence to do what they find attractive to them, and a person who has the confidence to set goals and accomplish goals. But your simp and your mangina is too afraid to go do any of that. So they'll try to get their needs met in sneaky and underhanded ways. And yes, they'll get a woman in a sneaky and underhanded way, and then when they can't get any more social currency out of her, they abandon the relationship in a sneaky and underhanded way. And because they do it in a sneaky and underhanded way, they wind up, the woman finds out sometimes, at the last minute. She'll find out through things that he does. And these tells will pretty much let you know that this guy is cheating. And this guy, he doesn't have the backbone or the testicles to just say, I'm going to end the relationship. And he doesn't want to deal with the consequences of ending a relationship, like being the bad guy, because he really is the bad guy. But he's too afraid to admit, I don't like this relationship. This relationship is not working out. It's not what I want in a relationship. He really didn't want, and it's really not. The truth is, he's really not getting what he wants from a relationship, which is the social currency and the cool points anymore with other people. So he's going to end the relationship. He doesn't have the courage to end the relationship because he's afraid of hurting people's feelings. But the irony is, by his cheating, he winds up hurting a woman more so than he would if he just ended the relationship. If he had the courage to end the relationship, the woman would deal with it and move on. But because this guy is too much of a coward to end a relationship, he'll maintain a relationship with one woman while chasing another one. Then when the other woman finds out and is emotionally crushed by it, he'll then further compound the pain by saying it's her fault, which really shows you what a complete jerk these guys truly are. Because again, your nice guy simps and manginas are bigger jerks than your regular man. Your regular man will just say, okay, the relationship's not working, I'm going to move on. And he'll put a period at the end of it and both of you will move on. This guy will try to make it look like he's doing a good thing while he's trying to do his bad stuff under the table. Because this is what your guy, mangina and simp, is going to do. They're going to go under the table, and what they're going to do is they're going to have a covert contract where they make it where they don't look like the bad guy. They're going to say, I'm not the bad, I'll do this if you let me do, I'll do this and you don't have to, and then, let me think about it. The covert contract works like this. He'll go out and cheat if you don't say anything. And if you say anything, you're the bad guy. When reality is, he's the bad guy, and he's too much of a coward to admit he wants to go and do these things. And he doesn't want to admit that he had the relationship on faulty terms. He really does not want, again, people for themselves. He does not like a person because They are a fun person to be with. They're a kind person. Um, they're friendly or something internal. Everything with him is external. He's always looking at, how pretty she is, how big her hair is, the type of clothes she wears. And his relationship is based on superficial things, which is why he is so quick to go find somebody else when things aren't working for him, because he wants to have that attractive woman on his arm. He wants to have that sexy woman on his arm. And he wants those cool points from people. And he wants to get attention through her instead of trying to have it focused on him. He doesn't have the confidence to go out here and get attention for himself or draw attention to himself. He always uses attachments, and a woman to a simp or a mangina is just another attachment. And this is why and the whole thing is that it's really devastating to families when older men do this, when they have kids at home, because the whole family is upheaved by this guy's cowardice and his quest for social currency. He's going to go and have his family, then he's going to go out here and try to have other women and even have children with other women, and then he's going to abandon them for more social currency points. And this whole thing is this whole paradigm that this guy sets up is dysfunctional, because he's using people like Kleenex and just pretty much using them, discarding them, and then having no regard for their feelings and their emotions. And then he makes it look like they're the bad guy for having feelings and emotions. That's where you see these two guys' narcissism rise to the surface, because everything is about them and it's never about the other person, when relationships are about both people looking out for each other and doing what is right for each other. And that's why the guy who just decides to end a relationship is doing right by the woman, because he's saying that I'm going to end a relationship and do what's right for her, rather than me stringing this woman along and doing what's right for me. That's just narcissism right there, because that's the difference between a guy putting himself first and being a narcissist. The guy who puts himself first is just going to end a relationship and let the woman move on, whereas the narcissist is going to try to string one woman along while trying to pursue another, and then he winds up hurting both women, and because he shows that he has absolutely no regard for either of them, and it's all about him and what he gets, and not about, sharing in the relationship and showing respect to the other person and thinking about how they would feel. And that's the big problem with your simp and your mangina, is that both of them are two of the most selfish guys on the planet, and they have absolutely no regard for any of the women that they involve themselves with. Because again, for these men, women are not people, they are objects that they use to get social currency. And when these guys finally get dumped, then they try to make it look like the woman is so bad, but then they don't want anyone to see any of the stuff that they did in the relationship that led to its decline and its demise. So with the big double standard with these two guys is that it's okay for them to break up with you and have you on the floor, but it's never okay when the woman decides to end the relationship. That's why a lot of these guys, will come out here and talk about they're going to kill their girlfriends and stalk their girlfriends, because these guys are pretty much, they don't want anybody to leave them, because then that bruises their ego. Because these guys, again, they're too cowardly to end a relationship, and then when somebody ends it, they want to come in and talk about they want to kill somebody or they want to stalk somebody. They want to have power over things, but they don't want to take any responsibility for anything. They don't want to say that, look, I did something wrong in this relationship. I made a mistake in this relationship, or I did things to hurt people, and that's why that person left. They don't want to say anything like that. Both of these guys, your simp and your mangina, always make it look like they're the good guy, but again, in reality, they're the bad guy. And this is why women should never get involved with either of these two guys, because these two guys pretty much are extremely dishonest, extremely manipulative, and extremely passive aggressive. And your life is going to be 10 times more miserable in a relationship with them than it would be without them. And when it comes down to these two guys, they are some of the worst when it comes down to everything. A lot of them have no control over their emotions. They are irrational, unreasonable, and some of them pretty much, yes, they give, but they give to get. And they use people, and then they don't want to see how they are using, just like the other person he says is using him. He don't see how he was using them for social currency, and how some of these gold diggers out here were just using him for gifts and trinkets. And they don't see how like attracts like, and the reason why he is involved with this type of female is because he is that kind of guy. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, subscribe.